Hi, I'm Michelle and this is my presentation on Kenya's influence on cuisine in Australia. First of all, why Kenya? Kenya was one of the countries my case study dean took refuge in, prior to being granted a humanitarian visa for Australia in 2003. He spent 11 years in Kenya and thus may adopt some Kenyan food practices within his home in Australia. Kenya borders Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, Ethiopia and natural landmarks such as the Indian Ocean, Lake Victoria and Lake Turkana. 48% of Kenyan land is agricultural land, and the agriculture sector contributes 1/3 to the country's GDP. Livestock contributes to 42% of the total agriculture output. This provides domestic meat, milk and dairy products. Kenya is the third largest tea producer in the world. It is the country's top export and 95% of it is exported. It is regarded for its high quality. Kenyan cuisine has been historically shaped by many influences from around the world. For 2 centuries, the Portuguese dominated the Kenyan coast. The Portuguese introduced maize, cassava, sweet potatoes, bananas, pineapples, and peppers. In 1844, the Berlin Conference divided East African territories among European powers. The British government ruled Kenya from 1895 until Kenya's independence in 1963. The British introduced white potatoes, cucumbers, tomatoes, and tea. Additionally, thousands of labourers from British India were transported to Kenya to build the Kenya-Uganda railway line. After this was completed, many Indians chose to remain in Kenya. As a result, curries, chutneys, chapatis, which are a type of flatbread, pilaus, which are rice dishes, samosas and spices are embedded in Kenyan cuisine. Staple foods of Kenya include maize, wheat, beans, potatoes and plantains. Water is added to maize to make ugali, which is often eaten for lunch and dinner. The custom is to serve ugali on a large dish and eat it with your right hand. Supplementary foods include vegetables such as tomatoes and sukuma, which is a type of kale that grows abundantly in Kenya. Meats such as goat or beef are also consumed if the individual can afford it. These supplementary foods are typically eaten fresh, sautéed with oil, stewed or grilled, particularly if cooking meats. Tea with added milk and sugar has recently become a popular breakfast beverage, to be served with fruits, mandazis, which are the donuts pictured next to the tea, or chapatis. There are distinct regional differences in Kenyan cuisine. Kenyans living in lake regions consume more fish. Kenyans living in the Great Rift Valley depend more on cattle and goat products, as this is where they are bred. Kenyans living on the coast have a more varied diet that includes dried fruits, rice, coconuts and spices, mainly due to the area's history of contact with Indian Ocean traders. 83% of the Kenyan population is Christian, and so Christian religious holidays such as Christmas are celebrated. Kenyans share a Christmas feast consisting of grilled meat, known as nyama choma, chapatis, vegetables, fruits and chutneys, with their families and friends. Another celebration is Mashura Day. It serves to remember those who fought for Kenya's independence. It is celebrated for feasts, candies and soft drinks. The domestic market for maize is small in Australia, so this may explain why Kenya's apparent consumption of maize is 15 times higher than Australia's. However, wheat makes up most of Australia's grain production, so this may explain why our consumption of it is 2 times higher than Kenya's. The apparent consumption of meat is significantly higher in Australia. This is likely due to the positive association between the level of income and meat consumption that has been established by research. A wave of Kenyan migrants came to Australia most notably between 1953 and 1960, which was when Kenya experienced political instability due to the More More uprising against the British colonial rule. It is important to note that many of these migrants had a European heritage. Since the 90s, there has been a steady increase of Kenyan migrants. Australia also has a history of refugee humanitarian settlers from Kenya. Kenya has the largest refugee camp in the world, housing primarily those fleeing neighbouring African countries. The growth of social media platforms has made it easier for people to become exposed to different food cultures. Miss Mandy and Susan Wong are 2 food bloggers based in Kenya. Chef Ali Mandry is a celebrity TV chef who recently hosted Celebrity Kitchen Raid. There is also a food and recipe blog called What's for Eats, which showcases international food, including Kenyan cuisine. Unlike Asian and European cuisines, African cuisine lacks presence in Australian supermarkets and society. The only items on supermarket shelves that reflect Kenyan cuisine are Makona's and Robert Tim's, Mocha Kenya style coffee, which is coffee that is not sourced from Kenya but captures its unique acidic, bold, and fruity taste. In contrast, Five Senses, a popular coffee brand in Australian cafes, does source its coffee beans from Kenya. Furthermore, there are only a handful of African restaurants in Australia. These restaurants also feature on online food guides such as the Urban List and TripAdvisor. Thanks for watching.